Now, the government says it will re-examine a decision to reject compensation for women affected by changes to the state pension age.
The so-called WASPy women, born in the 1950s, saw the threshold raised to match men. There's been criticism that the process was done too quickly.
So campaigners say the government has resisted them at every turn, and they're now urging the government to act quickly, saying that every 30 minutes a WASPy woman dies.
We should say WASPy stands for Women Against State Pension Inequality. Delighted to say that joining us now is Jane Cowley. She's the campaign manager for that organisation. Thanks so much for joining us on this. My first question is, what do you make of the statement yesterday? And for the viewers catching up to speed, Pat McFadden, the minister in charge of this department, said after the government said in December that they weren't going to pay you any compensation, that they're reopening that decision?
Yes, well, what has happened is that evidence that has been within the DWP forever since 2007, because the DWP actually commissioned this research themselves in 2007, wasn't presented to the minister when she made the decision last year. Now, that evidence actually completely contradicts the reason she gave for not paying compensation. She said that women wouldn't read or remember letters sent to them giving them information about the change in their state pension age, whereas the 2007 evidence says the direct opposite of that, and it shows that women would have read, would have remembered, and would have acted on the information that was sent to them if it had gone out at the right time. So you can see that actually the government is now completely unable to defend its previous decision in court, and we have a judicial review scheduled for next month, and that's the reason for the backtracking on the part of the government.
I mean, what do you make of the timing of all this? Of course, it's 2 weeks before the budget. It doesn't seem likely that they're going to fully commit to any payment by then. Do you think this is political game playing so that they can still make their sums add up in 2 weeks' time? Do you actually think they'll come through and pay you compensation, or are they just trying to win your favour in the short term, or perhaps, I should say, lessen your disappointment in the short term?
I think we have to wait and see on that one to a certain extent. Pat McFadden promised to look at it and come to a new decision as quickly as possible. But it's disappointing that he didn't put a time frame on that, because we have sat through 6 years of an ombudsman investigation, a long time after the ombudsman's report before the government came forward with a decision. And really, we don't want to have to sit through yet another 6 months, 1 year, 18 months of waiting for Pat McFadden to look at the evidence properly and come to another decision. As you said earlier, one WASPy woman dies every 13 minutes. Time is not on our side, and the government really should act swiftly on this.
If there's some political sort of strategy going on, maybe it's all purely based on principle, and either way, if there are some other actions taken in the budget that hurt pensioners, perhaps it could relate to the triple lock, perhaps it could relate to tax deductibility of pension payments. Would that offset any good news that you might get on the compensation you're seeking?
Well, you know, we campaign on a single issue. We are not a pensions group as such. We campaign simply on the lack of communication that we had about the change to our state pension age. Pensioners, despite what many people read, are not generally well off. And, you know, WASPy women, really, we know from the contacts we have with the women born in the 1950s that a payment of £3,000 would make a very significant difference to many of those women's lives. Many of them are, despite the winter fuel allowance having been brought back in, are sitting and facing a cold winter ahead, and that payment would make a significant difference to millions of women.
Do you think that the majority of WASPy women were genuinely not aware of the change in pension age, or is it a small minority, or is it an issue of process where you were wronged?
The DWP's own research, which, again, the government chose to ignore when it made that early decision, actually shows that a significant majority of women did not know their pension age. They may have had some vague awareness that the pension age was rising, but they simply did not know at what age they would get their state pension.
In light of that, what is your message to younger people, when we know how tight finances are, and the 3,000 or so payment you mentioned, I believe I'm right in saying, totaled up would cost Rachel Reeves over £10 billion to make that payment. What is the message to younger people who perhaps wouldn't therefore get such a benefit, or frankly other pensioners, male or female, that don't fall into that category?
I think really this is an issue about the government doing the right thing and accepting that it has made a mistake and putting that mistake right. Now, that's what we expect people to do in every other area of life. If you've made a mistake, you have to put it right, and sometimes you have to pay compensation because you've actually hurt someone by your mistake, and that's the issue here. We know that younger people, 72% of the public, feel that compensation should be paid to us. They feel it's the right thing to do. The government needs to get behind that, to accept that it's done something wrong and it has to put it right.
Jane Cowley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.